This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we discuss news, opinions, and ideas about comedy. I'm David Munoz, and this is
Igor Monday.
And today's topic is the review. So, apparently, Igor has received a review, and not as usual about his sexual performance by one of his ex-girlfriends, but rather by an actual stand-up comedy reviewer, critic. Was it? Okay.
Questions? What do you mean? Not as usually. Like, I never receive, you don't. What?
Oh, but I do. All your exes call me. They're constantly giving me reviews and updates. It's a regular thing.
What do you have? Is that like
I have a scrapbook
support group or something? Is that like,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Exes Anonymous.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. What is the deal with ...
That's good.
Anyway,
I like that all of you guys are hanging out. I like that. It's good. It's like a little family.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bonding experience. So yeah, you received a review. Now, okay, let's break it down into questions. Number one, was this review by an actual comedy critic, or is this some rando person that you have no idea of their credentials?
No. I mean, let's start at the beginning. I've received reviews before. I mean, and when I say review, I mean like people who have access to Facebook, Google, TripAdvisor, anywhere where you can actually write about the events and, put the 1 to 5 star ratings and so on. And even not only the social media and kind of public websites, but the website of the Fringe Festival, the website of the Melbourne Comedy Festival. You can also review shows there. So I've received reviews before, both kind of from audience members and from some, I don't think they were actually like journalists or something, like comedy critics, but I think they were kind of a part of the industry. They kind of see a lot of shows and then kind of write what they think under the show on the festival. But this was the very first negative review I've received. So after 10 years of performing. And I mean, like, people have told me in person, that joke is not good, or, oh, today was not a great show. That's all fine. I don't consider that review. It's just like feedback after the show, or
that's just what your mum says. You just take it pass and parcel. You're like, yeah, fine, thanks, mum.
Yeah, I mean, and I believe her. So that's not a review. It's just, it's advice, if anything. But this is the
give up the comedy, Igor. Give it up. Be a doctor. Make your mama proud.
I'll never be. I'm 36 years old. Give it up, Mom.
This is my dream, Mom.
I'll make it.
Then move out of the basement.
I'll make it, Mom. The band's doing really well. We got a gig next week. Your cousin's bar mitzvah doesn't count. We have a gig at the local Fate.
Yeah. In the freak show attraction.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of back in the day when I was doing music. That's how we actually did it. And we had like a gig at the local, like this city, Day of the City or whatever festival kind of thing. And we were like, we made it. And it was basically like anyone could do it. You had to be from that city. But yeah, anyways. So coming back.
Sympathy gig.
Yeah, but I mean, it was good. It's good. When you're a 17-year-old kid, it's good. But yeah, so coming back to comedy. No, it's obviously like, again, I've been told everything, like by friends, by audience, by comics, when it's not a good show, it's not a good show, whatever. Yeah. But this is like the first kind of, publicly posted negative review. And it's not, the problem is that it's not a negative review, it's not kind of, so the show was bad, no one was funny, I didn't laugh, and that's it. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is that I think the person has no idea what stand-up or live events are. That's the problem. Like, it's not even the review of that show. I think it's more like a review of comedy in general, which is funny to me because it really makes me think that it came from a person who's never been or probably will never go to comedy again. But they decided like, okay, I've been to something completely new and different. I didn't understand it, or it was, not fun for me. I'll shit on it online. Like, I think that was, so that's weird, you know, like, as if I would go to something that I really don't enjoy or understand, you know, like if I would go to male striptease, which I'm not that into, right? I wouldn't go online to the website of the strip club and be like, oh, there were naked men with dicks out everywhere, horrible, 1 star. You know, it's just like, okay, maybe it's not for me.
Why would any guy agree to this form of entertainment? Why would someone debase themselves this much? It's like, dude, you went to the male strip bar.
Yeah.
What did you expect to see?
So that's I think,
geez, that is the whole point.
That's the weird part of that review. And, you know, again, like over the years, and I've ran like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 4, I guess, comedy organizations, productions. And, you know, like we were always on multiple platforms, you know, like always TripAdvisor, Facebook, Google, wherever you can leave a review. And not all, like with all of them, we had a very good rating, like 4.8, 4.9, but not all reviews were always positive. Like someone would give 3 stars, 4 stars, 2 stars. And, you know, like it's always these reviews. I guess they came in like around 2010, maybe. People started like online reviewing things like with Yelp and TripAdvisor and all of those things. I don't think it was a thing before, right? Yeah. You like your local pizzeria, you had no idea, you know, like if you're going to get a good pizza or there's a rat in the box, like, but now it's going to be written somewhere.
You went with what your friend said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went with what your friend said. Your friends would be, oh, this place is great. Or found, you know, a frog's leg in it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's French based. So cool.
Yeah. So
it was. If you like French food, go for it.
So it was like word of mouth, and you like it until something bad happens, right? Then if something bad happens, you'll tell all your friends, oh yeah, I found a cockroach at the bottom of the pizza. You know, like something, right? And then people are like, at least your friends will stop going there. That's it. But
or they'll go, hey, extra protein, lovely.
Yeah, if someone is into it, I don't know. Yeah. So I think with events and with all kind of public, like the service industry, it only started like around 2010 or something. There is even this amazing episode of South Park, like mid 2010s, like 2000 maybe 15, 16, where they opened this, if I remember correctly, I watched it almost 10 years ago, but they opened this kind of cool gentrified neighborhood of like bars and restaurants and like craft beer places and so on. And then they're like super afraid of Yelp reviewers. So if someone comes and goes like, oh, I'm registered at Yelp, they're like, oh, welcome, sir, you get the VIP treatment, because they were so afraid that someone's going to put like a bad mark on there, because it then just takes down the whole, rating, and it looks like a bad.
Well, it is a big thing. Like, I know I've worked for, I'm not going to mention names, but I worked once for like an English language school. And one of the English language schools I worked for, it had, it ended up with some bad reviews but in the past. And the thing is, that stuff sticks. So it was like dropping their rating. And they worked so hard to try to fix it or to like counter it. And, I heard, now I don't know if it was true, but I heard of like some of them like even paying for one of those like bot farms or whatever to like, just flood it with positive reviews. Like, they paid some Indian company or whatever to like just flood it with to lift their rating, because when people were doing Google searches, it was dropping them low because of the rating system. So they were trying to bump them above the 4.5 mark or something. And then they were also like calling up like individual places, like social medias and so forth, trying to get certain reviews removed, because they're like, with the bot farm minus taking down these reviews, they would kind of balance out and do that. So it was a huge thing. Reviews was like, the power of the review is quite interesting once you think about it.
I mean, even nowadays, like, to be honest, like, I kind of trust it, but not really. It's like everything, like if I see a movie on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes and it has like, I don't know, out of 10 6.2, I kind of immediately think, okay, that's not a great movie. But a lot of times I watch it and it actually is a great movie. It's just maybe not for everyone, or there is something in it that people are gonna like, just downvote or even troll, because people nowadays on the internet, like, not everything is serious, but in the end it does produce the same result. So people can just be like trolling and like for fun, like downvoting something, whatever. But then it actually, because like, let's just take a movie that just came out to the cinemas. If the first like 10,000 reviews are bad, other people will not go and see it in the cinema, and that movie is losing money. But it's maybe because like someone just doesn't want, I don't know, that actor in that role or something. It's just kind of there. I think it's the concept of reviews is super useful, especially in things like, kind of like taxis, like Uber and whatever. Because if I see a driver with like 3.8 stars, I'm like, this man has killed someone, like, because no, but real, like, I don't know, like, I always, because, okay,
he might as well have done jail time. Let's face it, you just don't trust the guy. You're like, all right, prison tats and shit. That's what you're expecting to pull up.
I mean,
sort of thing.
yeah.
Or a guy with Mr. Magoo glasses. So you're like, he's blind as a bat. There's no way I'm getting in the car with this old geezer. Like, stuff that.
I always kind of judge it by myself, and for me, it's like either I give a good mark or I don't give anything. I don't think I've ever left like a really bad review, because I know that even like a restaurant or something, so many times, like when I order some food or whatever, it comes like too salty or, like not like well packaged, so it kind of leaked somewhere or whatever, or like just the delivery was late and so on. But I never give a bad review. Why? Because like maybe just that day the guy just like oversalted, and now I don't want to ruin their whole business. Like I'll give a 1 or 2 star review, their rating is going to go down. Maybe it's like a great restaurant.
Would you give a 4? Would you give it a 4 then, or a 4.5, and say, look, the food in general is great. I just think it was slightly salty, too salty for my dish. Here's a 4.5. Would you do that, or would you be like, you know what? It's just best not to do a review then. Unless it's a 5, I'm not going to give it. It's like, unless it's an extreme, I'm not going to give a review.
I wouldn't, but because I think it's just like, even if I say it was just too salty, as I said, it's maybe like one time, one fluke, It's not like a kind of conveyor belt thing, like where like it's mass produced. It's like maybe a family business where they cook some food and this day like they just over salted one soup or whatever, so if it happened like 3, 4, 5 times, then I would probably be like, yeah, their food is very salty, be aware. But if I wasn't satisfied once or twice, I probably wouldn't order 5 times from the same place. So
well, that's what I mean. So really, at the end, you end up just writing reviews of either a 5-star or a 1-star. It's like you only give really good reviews, or you only do it if they're absolute shit. Like, it was a horrible service. The person was rude to you and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you know what? That's it. 1. Dun, dun, dun. That's what I mean. Like, it just seems like it's a thing. It's kind of interesting. I think but sometimes I kind of believe more the people who give the 4.1 or these like kind of in between, because you're like, oh, this person is nuanced, but they're rare, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know, like how, because again, the biggest kind of advantage and disadvantage, I would say even more disadvantage of those reviews, is that they are written by people and subjective, So that's that's the problem. Like I would always trust the reviews if they were written by kind of professional critics and inspectors. You know what I mean? So like if they go to yeah.
So I was going to ask you, would you think, like, do you, for example, hotels, right? When you go to look at reviews of hotels and things like that, do you look at the reviews and you see what the people say? But do you take into consideration the background of the person? Do you kind of go, oh, the person who wrote this is from this place, and I don't think, like, I think they have very high standards. So when they complain, you're like, that's minor point. But maybe if they're from a different region, the same complaint, you're like, well, they'll put up with anything. So this probably is actually worse. Do you ever do that?
Well, not
because I know, like, I've heard of that sort of thing. Like, I've seen it in action where it's like, so I saw this review on this hotel, but it came from a person from so and so place, and they have very low standards. So in that case, and I was like, interesting.
Not about like, I mean, I never even check like who the person is, and sometimes you can't really check. It's just someone just created an account,
or from the name, or from
from
the language, because you Google Translate, Google translates for you, so it might be like, this was written in Polish, this was written in French, this was written in German, this was written in Norwegian.
Yeah, but first of all, Dave, that's very racist, and second of all, I think
I know. That's my point.
I think
that is exactly my point.
But that's the difference, like between kind of legit reviews and I think the ones like the one that we're about to talk about, because when you see like someone's actual name, you see like it's, I don't know, Nicholas Peterson, and like from the UK, and you see that this person has like 23 other reviews whatever, like on TripAdvisor, on Google, wherever it is, right? Then you're like, okay, this is a real person. This is a person that attends comedy or goes to restaurants or whatever they are reviewing. So, it's still his subjective opinion, but at least like it's a proper person that knows, like that attends these kind of things often. So that's fine.
Right.
But then you get a review by like user 1247. Who has no like profile picture, no other reviews, just that one review, and you're like, is this a legit review, or is it kind of out of spite or something? So because it has happened,
And I've also seen,
sorry,
and I've also seen like where someone only gives like negative reviews. You can see that they're just the person who dumps on any business who doesn't cater to their every need, and you can tell that from the reviews as well. Like you start looking at it going, these are a little bit like ultra negative, and it's like, wow, so you've got 5 reviews or you've got 10 reviews in total that you've given, and all of them are really shitty ones. It's like you've never given a good review. It's like you're the kind of person that once, if you don't get it the way you want it, like exactly, or they haven't bent backwards to cater for your ridiculous demands, then you just give a negative review as your little spiteful action, being petty.
Yeah, it's the Karens of the world. I think like nowadays they're trying to even kind of cancel the word Karen as it's become a slur. Like what, but it's those kind of people that will always find something bad, will always like ask to see the manager, that will always, and we like. And it's weird, like the review thing. It's really weird. Like as I said, like I ran a comedy club. I ran like 4 different productions and so on. And like sometimes we had I was just trying to find it, but I can't because I don't remember which platform it was on. But it was basically, this is the gist of it. Great show. I had so much fun. Great value for money. Experienced comedians from all around the world. Made my belly hurt for 2 hours. Very nice room. Pleasant staff. Very cozy atmosphere. Would recommend. 3 out of 5.
That's not a negative review though.
No, but it's like, I'm like, what else did you want? Because like everything that you've listed, like we've hit all the marks, like we've done everything well, and then the rating is 3 out of 5. I'm like, so okay, what what didn't we do, or like what kind of where did we lose those points, or what did you expect, like the lineup to be? Okay, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Ricky Gervais, and Dave Chappelle, and that would be a good show. Like for like what, $5? Like I don't know, what was the expectation?
Now, what kind of show was this for? This review?
I don't know, just like a feature show, like a mixed bill Friday show, probably. I don't remember exactly. But
open mic or showcase? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I really don't remember. I think a showcase, like a feature show. But still, I think it was one of those like pay what you want shows as well, because I think 90% of those shows that we used to run at the old club were pay what you want. So it's not even like, you cannot say that you were overcharged for the show or anything.
10
like,
euros or whatever.
Yeah. So, like it's that's the kind of weird reviews that I never got. Like, what do you expect? But then, like, if you read reviews for anything, because recently, like maybe a year ago or something, I accidentally, like, I was just hanging out with one friend, and we were saying, like, let's meet, because we live at the opposite side of the city. We were saying, like, let's meet near a church. It's like a famous church. It's like a landmark in the city, right? Mm-hmm. So I clicked on that church to see how to get there. And when you click on something on Google Maps, it automatically shows you the reviews, kind of the rating and the reviews. Yeah. And I started reading the reviews for this church, and that's hilarious. Like people leaving reviews for a church, and it's really like they're really
not enough God.
Yeah, they're really like some are serious, but they sound funny. Some are just funny. I think people are just trolling. It's like when there no Jesus, 0 stars. Like, and like it's really funny. So then I actually like kind of for a bit I started researching that, and there is a parking lot. Close to me, it's just kind of a piece of asphalt and like a ramp. It's a parking lot, like just that's it. That's the only purpose it has. That's how it works. That's it. And there is a review like just another parking lot, 3 stars. Like, what did you expect?
Love it.
Like, what did you think? It's like someone's gonna.
No, but but that one makes sense. That review makes sense because it is just another parking lot. Like it's not.
No,
great.
it doesn't make sense.
Mediocre.
It should be.
But yours. But no. But yours. Your review was like belly laughing for 2 hours and they only gave you 3 out of 5?
No, but even this doesn't make sense because if the parking lot is fulfilling its only purpose, which is being a parking lot, then that's 5 out of 5. You know, why would someone suck your dick at a parking lot?
Not well, it depends on the parking
I mean, as a
lot,
part
but
as
there are
a
parking
part
lots
of
for
as a
that.
part of the service of the parking lot. I'm not saying it's your like personal arrangement, but you know what I mean.
So no, like a dogging sort of situation.
No,
where
not
people
that.
go
No,
to-
so
yeah,
you know, like I
okay.
think that's why I think like
Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, just in case you're wondering what is dogging, this is where
Google
people
it.
Apparently,
Google
go
it.
into-
Just Google
Yeah,
it.
Google it. Yeah. Just in case there's some children, do not Google it. Do not Google it. That is very bad. Do not look at what dogging is. Let's just say it's where dogs go to meet. Okay. Yes.
Yep,
It's
yep.
a place where
It-
dogs
it-
go to
it's-
meet. It's where you go before doggy heaven. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, are you still a teacher? Do they still allow you to with their children and other people? Is that a thing?
Yeah, because I think I was just going towards like bestiality and necrophilia all mixed into one. That's just gross. That's just wrong. Igor, where are we going with
Nice,
this?
Dave. A little insight into your kind of dark side of the
I don't know
mind.
where that was. Yeah, that was. Yeah,
But-
parking lots. They just bring out the worst in me.
Yeah,
2
yeah.
out of 5 stars.
Probably you that you wrote that review. You were like, "What is this parking lot? There's no one dogging around me. What is this shit? This is horrible."
There's no bestiality, no necrophilia. Come
Nothing.
on.
Three-
What makes it special? Nothing special.
Nothing special, just another parking lot. 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
So
but then are you then somebody who says like, because that's, I mean, I don't know, a parking lot that does just that, where you just park, maybe that is a 3 out of 5. Or you like one of those people that's like, you should always tip, like, you know, or do you only believe in tipping for like exceptional service sort of stuff? Because then that would be a 5 out of star, but a 3-star, do you still tip on a 3-star service? I don't know.
well, I wouldn't tip anyone because we don't really have a tipping culture. Well, we have like you kind of just round it up to the next. Like if something costs like 7.7 euros, you just leave 8 and that's it. Like we don't have the kind of add 20%, add 10% for a service, add 20% for an exceptional service, this kind of culture of tipping. And especially I wouldn't tip a parking lot. It's just a piece of like concrete, fuck you, parking lot. But
Exactly. 3 out of 5 stars.
no, it's 5 stars because you pay whatever you pay, you get to leave your car and that's it. Unless it's like super expensive, but then you write in the review too expensive for this part of the city, or if it's unsafe, like it's unsafe, someone stole my wheel or whatever, you know, like, and then that can take down the
Just
mark.
one. The bastard.
So
Now I have to buy a solitary wheel instead of getting a 4-wheel discount.
and for
Bastards.
every wheel you lose, you take down a star. Like that would be like kind of 2 stars. They only took 3 wheels. Yeah, so I think like kind of to wrap up the idea of the reviews in general, I think like if they're written by people who usually write reviews, who actually frequent such places, like I don't know, bars, restaurants, churches, comedy shows, and know what they're talking about. And maybe if they are, of course, like if they're like a critic or like an inspector or something, like some quality control, you know, they have some credits to their name, then fine. But you know, like when you see a review by user 1267 and then it's like a 1-star review and it takes down your whole kind of rating, and plus like the reviews also I went to so I was recently in Melbourne, you know, that like I was visiting our very good friend and so on, and he had a wedding. I was there for a wedding and I needed to get a haircut just like a few days before the wedding. I didn't even have time to do it in Croatia because I was rushing to kind of pack and to prepare for the trip. And I was like, okay, I'll do it there, right? And there's a barber shop or like a hair salon actually like 2 minutes away from the flat of my friend. And I kind of just click on Google Maps to check what is this place, because I don't know anything about, you know, like kind of hair salons in Australia, let alone this specific one, you know, just kind of to check what's going on. And one of the first reviews, it's like a 1-star review. And it goes like, so the ladies working there are absolutely unprofessional. They messed up my hair. I told them 5 times what to do. They cut it too short. It was my big special day. I was about to have like a photo shoot at work or something, but they absolutely ruined it. They listened to no input. They like blah, blah, just like kind of a lot of shit.
Right.
And then the first, and there's a picture attached of her kind of in the chair, you know, and picture in the mirror. And the first comment is from the venue, from the hair salon. It's like, hi lady, sorry about that, we don't have you in our records that you've ever been to our salon, and also that picture is not from our salon. So it's just like a person who went to like a salon next door maybe, or they mixed up the locations, addresses, whatever, I don't know, on purpose, by accident, whatever, but they left a 1-star review. It's taken down their rating like permanently, so whoever now Googles this hair salon will see this negative review by a person who wasn't even there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that happening a few times, of that sort of thing as well. Yeah, no, that kind of sucks. So, but to go back to the review, what was your first reaction when you read this review, when you saw like what this person wrote? And did you see the stars first, or did you read the review first? What did you see first, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, what happened? Let me actually kind of give you the rundown of the whole context. So what happened is, when I started Zagreb English Comedy, which was last September, I guess, or kind of August, September, I set up all of these things like Facebook, Instagram, TripAdvisor, Meetup, like everywhere where people, Linktree, where people could potentially find us, right? And some things I use almost daily, like Instagram, to post like announcements of the shows and whatever. Things like Meetup, I would just like once a month put up all the events and just leave it. TripAdvisor, I just made a profile, put like a 2-3 pics that I had at that point, because it was before we actually started any shows or anything, and I just left it, right? So I don't know, 6 months later or something, February, we kind of took 3 comics, so myself and 2 other guys, to a different city. So not even in Zagreb, where we do shows regularly. We took the show like kind of on the road. We arranged with one local producer to have a show there. So it was kind of, like a excursion, like a day trip to that city to do a show. And that was in February. And then maybe in May or something, I log into TripAdvisor, because I realized that now we have a lot of pictures, because we've been running for like 7-8 months. We have more shows coming up, and it's summer. Tourists are showing up in the city. They're looking for things to do. They check things like TripAdvisor. I'm like, okay, let's get the TripAdvisor kind of up and running properly. Add some new photos, this and that. And I open TripAdvisor and I see like we have 2 reviews. We have one review from, I think, October or something, which is 5 stars. I didn't know this exists. Such a great atmosphere. Really cool guys. Really enjoyed the show. And a 1-star review. 1-star review. Again, person with kind of no name, just like some initials, LP, no profile picture, no other reviews, nothing. Obviously just made an account or whatever to come and to talk about this particular show. And it was that show that we took on the road, so in a different city. And it's 1-star review, and it's not like just 1-star review and kind of this was bad, this was shit. No, it's a whole essay, right? So the review is basically this. The show featured 3 comedians. Myself, I was a host. Another Croatian comedian, Peja, you know him, you remember him. He's super experienced. He's toured the world. He's done more than 50 countries. He sells out almost everywhere he goes. And he's really like not like an edgy or dirty comedian or something. He's like every man's comedian, kind of. And then we had one American guy as well that's like an expat. He lives here. He's married to a Croatian woman. He has a kid. He writes books about his experience of being like an expat in Croatia, all of that. And the review is like, there were 3 comedians. 2 were absolute utter shit, the worst thing I've ever seen in the world. The American guy was fine, but the 2 Croatian guys, horrible. First, the host comes out, and I don't know what kind of complexes he has or what kind of racial issues or something he has, but he came out and he asked every person in the audience, where are they from? How can he do that? That's horrible. That's like pointing out people by their nationality and then joking about it. That's not funny. And then he was asking people more and more personal questions, like, what do you do? Who are you here with? And it's basically like, so the first paragraph is just about me and the hosting and how that's horrible and how that's like, it must be a psychologically unstable person to validate themselves by putting down others, by pointing out, their nationality, their job, and so on. I'm like, have you ever heard of, like, that's, crowd work has been a staple of comedy since like the 60s, right? And it's absolutely always the same. And it's never, me, you've seen me host, and everyone's seen me host. I never cross that border of just offending people. It's always, it's crowd work, it's teasing, it's kind of, you pull, you push. And it's, like if someone says, oh, I'm from France, obviously there are some like easy jokes you do, like, oh, did you know this show is in English? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, but those are just standard. You'll get them in Paris, you get them in Barcelona, you get them in Istanbul, in New York, in Melbourne, always those jokes. You know what I mean? But this person obviously wasn't aware of comedy and of crowd work. And yeah, sure, if you don't know how it works, a person coming out on stage and being like, where are you from? Germany. That sucks. Where are you from? China. Boo. You know what I mean? Like it does seem to you like that. But that's just because you don't understand the format. Like I've done nothing wrong. It's just, you didn't understand what's going on. And then that was my paragraph. And the paragraph about the other comedian was, this kind of middle-aged man or whatever came out and he spent like most of his set talking about politics and sex and like gender differences and so on, what kind of like issues he has. Obviously, like if he talks about sex so much, probably he's not getting any. And who does he think? He thinks he's a political like scientist or a critic to talk about politics. I'm like, those have been the topics of comedy from the day one, right? Day one, I think when stand-up started, it was like political commentary, satire, like sex, you know what I mean? Like relationships, all these kind of like, those are the topics. Like, what did you expect?
I love the fact that this person shits on you for them pointing out must be like putting down people to feel better about themselves, and then this person is just putting down person in a review in an essay format.
Yeah, but that's the problem, because I think what I could read from that review is this person has never been to comedy and doesn't know how live stand-up works. That's all. Like, I didn't read, like, we did a good show. I didn't read, like, we personally offended someone. And this person was kind of, he didn't say, like, oh, they told me something or whatever. It was just like, I didn't like how they were picking on other people. I didn't like that they were talking about sex. Like, I really don't like when people are getting offended on behalf of someone else. Like, if someone wrote, like, one of the audience members wrote, like, hey, I was at that show, and, I don't know, I'm from Egypt. And the guy was making fun of me from being from Egypt and, being kind of rude and offensive and so on in front of everyone. I didn't like that. I would like, that's a fair statement, right? But getting offended on like others' behalf and being like, that was a shit show because someone talked to the audience about where they're from. I'm like, what? That's not how, like, so that's the bad review. And you can actually go and see it. You can go to Zagreb English Comedy TripAdvisor, everyone who's listening, and you can read the review. It's very kind of detailed and it's very offensive. I mean, like, it calls us like idiots, degenerates, perverts, psychologically unstable.
Go into more details. So what did he say about the American then? Because he bagged you. He bagged Pedja.
I don't think it's. I mean, I don't know if it's a he. First of all. I don't know
Good point.
who or what that is. So, that's another thing. As I said, like, because a person has 0 reviews, no name, no nothing. So that's also, it seemed like kind of a personal vendetta or something as well.
Okay. So what did they say about the American then? Did they say anything about the American? Because you said, like, they seem to say, like, the first 2 sucked, but the third one was okay.
Yeah, no, they said, like, he was fine. Like, he kind of joked about himself, and that's what comedy should be. He just told stories about himself, and that's it. Like, that's fine. Kind of, they had no issues with him. So that was that. There was a person at the show. I actually remember. I'm not saying it's the same person, but there was a person at the show who was kind of hostile. Let's say, you can always see it, like, from the body language and everything. And I heard like a comment when that person was leaving the show as well. So I'm not saying I don't know if it was the same person, but that person at the show that I remember kind of physically being there had an issue with, I would say, let's say, Croatians or whatever, like So, I mean, I heard that from the comment when the person was leaving. That was just kind of like said passing through. So is it the same person? I don't know.
What was the
it was something like the guy was leaving and he said something like fucking English shows with fucking Croatians, something like that, kind of right. I'm like, yeah, man, we also speak English, and more than half of the room were foreigners, like 70% of the room were foreigners. Like, whatever, but I guess he was displeased that he's paid like €7 or whatever the cost was to hear Croatians speak English in Croatia. Like, boo-hoo, dude. You know what I mean? So it was a comment like that, but I don't know.
How dare you as a Croatian speak English?
Yeah,
How dare you?
yeah, but I mean, there are people, sadly, I think in every country where they're like, this is Croatia, we should speak Croatian, everyone should learn Croatian if they're coming here, we should cater to our people, not just to foreigners. You know what I mean? There's always people like that. And I don't know if it's the same person, but if it is, then that comment was based on like basically nationalism. You know what I mean? It wasn't about
So the person was Croatian? The one who walked past?
Yeah. It was, the comment was in Croatian. So, obviously, why would a foreigner complain about the show in English? Come on, dude. Keep up.
Well, no. But there could be like someone who's like, oh, these people don't know how to, because they might say, oh, accents and blah, blah, blah. It wouldn't surprise me, actually, that someone would be like, oh, it wasn't, like, people who are not understanding, people who are arrogant. Because there are some, native English speakers who are like that.
I don't
who
know.
would not appreciate someone from another language, like, like mangling the language, putting it in parentheses, sort of thing. But
Maybe,
that's why
but
I wasn't sure if the person was Croatian or was maybe a foreigner who thought that, basically stand-up in English should be done just by the English,
I've never experienced that. Like, I'm sure there are some people like that who are, whatever, English for English speakers, something like that. But in general, like, even when I did it in like native speaking countries, in Australia, in Scotland and so on, they all, even the opposite, they kind of appreciate and applaud the effort that you've learned their language to entertain them. So that's, I've never had any negative.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, but I've never had any negative feedback about that. But I did have before negative feedback about what is this shit? Why are we doing like in Croatia events in English? Why are Croatians speaking English to kind of cater to foreigners? Why are like, you know what I mean? It's always that's I think bigger percentage of people that kind of has an issue with, kind of all these foreigners coming here and taking our jobs. It's one of those groups of people, right? So if those two things were related, like that person at the show and that comment, then I think that comment just has like a nationalist charge to it, and I think it actually should be removed, because it's not a review of the show. It's literally like, two Croatian guys were shit, the American guy was fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's the same person. I can't claim that, so it's just a speculation. But in general, I think...
Did you respond?
Yeah,
Did you respond to the review?
Yeah, I wrote like a kind of standard reply, like, I'm sorry you had a bad time at our show. If you really kind of deem it so horrible, we are ready to refund you for the ticket. That's actually not like, no problem, I'll give you back your €7. You know what I mean? And also, like, if you kind of attend more comedy shows, live stand-up, you'll see that, I explained the crowd work, that the host usually talks to the people, especially the front row, tries to get to know them, teases them a bit. It's always in good spirit. It's never, like malice or something like that. Like, you never mean bad. So, if our host even crossed the line a bit, it was a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, I hosted, so I know that I didn't. And everyone else at that show, the producer, like, we talked after the show, he's like, this is great. A lot of people, like, came up to us after the show, shook our hand, this is great, come back again, please. So, like, out of 65 people, only one person had an issue with the host. You know what I mean? So it's obviously...
But they're the ones who left the review.
They're the ones who are going to go online and write it, obviously. So, yeah, that's the... but since then, like, because I started using TripAdvisor more actively, then, like, I uploaded some more photos and stuff. We got more and more reviews, and now it's actually... Because at that point, I had, like, one good review, one bad review. So our rating was like 2 out of 5, because a bad review really takes it down. Like, because it's kind of the way of these platforms warning people if it's a bad business or whatever. So, like, if you kind of Googled for a month or something, Zagreb English Comedy, you would see like 2 out of 5 stars on TripAdvisor, which means, oh, that's shit. Since then, luckily, we've had more reviews, more 5-star reviews, and it kind of came back to 4.5 or something, I think, because it's like 9 5-star reviews and 1 bad one, something like that. But yeah, still, I mean, I think that's quite unfair. Like, just feel free to leave a review. Feel free to come to me after, as a producer, as a host, after the show, and tell me, man, this was bad. I didn't get the service I paid for. Give me back the money. No problem. I'll always give you back the money. If you come to me and say, okay, here's what I think, don't say that again about Croatians. Don't do that. Don't let that comedian on stage. That's very offensive. Sure, that's also like constructive criticism, right? Good feedback. Yeah. Even if you write something like that online, if the guy wrote, as I said, like, I was personally picked on and I didn't like it and I was quite offended that someone made fun of my wife or whatever, like, that's fine. That's but getting kind of offended on the behalf of the show and because people are talking about politics and sex, and I'm like, that's just comedy. You're literally reviewing stand-up, like not our show, just stand-up.
As a general profession, as a general hobby, as a general thing of doing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I don't like this format. I don't like people telling jokes. It's not funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't like I don't like people telling jokes. It's just like, I don't understand how this is jokes. And I'm like, well, that's probably because you haven't been to any other
I don't
shows.
understand jokes.
Yeah, well, it's not, I don't understand the format. I think that's the problem. But that happens, every time I do a show. I don't know how is it for you right now over there with Alicante, but maybe you remember like previously when we performed together as well. You would get like between 10 and 50% of the room that had never been to live stand-up before.
Yeah.
I just did my show yesterday as a part of the festival, my solo show, and it was a full room, and at least like 7 people have never been to stand up before. 7, 10, I don't know. Yeah. So it's kind of, you have to always explain from the beginning. If you like something, laugh. If you are asked a question, clap. If you're not asked a question, shut up. Like this is what's going to happen. In Croatia, actually, I was talking to this Croatian producer, and he says he has to do, because of those people who were kind of coming to them after the show or posting stuff online or whatever, he has to do this disclaimer at the beginning of every show that says stand-up comedy is art. We appreciate like freedom of speech and no censorship. So comedians might be talking about stuff that you personally are not comfortable with. There is no taboos in comedy.
Do you think that has anything to do with the whole political climate nowadays? Like the fact that things are becoming very extreme, left wing, right wing, and woke, anti woke, and like these two extremist sort of points of view. Do you think this has started to influence? This is why this disclaimer is now, he feels it needs to be made, because he's just like, shit, there's always someone who's either going to be like way too offended from one side or the other side. Like we got to tell them that jokes are just fucking jokes and it's art and it's a form of expressionism, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's the view of the person or anything like that. What do you reckon?
I don't think it's the current climate. I think it's just like it's the let's say age
naivety?
No, it's the kind of comedy stand-up being a very new thing. Stand-up in Croatia exists for 20 years. Professional stand-up kind of, in kind of bigger clubs, paid shows and so on for 10 years, maximum 15 years. So it's a new thing. Like people in England, people in the US, they come to stand-up and they know what it is. So if you don't know that, if you don't want that, you don't go. If you want that, you go. It's very simple. But here, people don't know it, so they go to see. You know what I mean? Like so I think it's connected.
What is this stand-up all about?
Yeah, and it's like, if you don't know what paintball is, you might be like, oh, it's just people shooting each other. You know what I mean? Like if you don't know,
or maybe they're surprised by the fact that the pellets actually kind of hurt. Like they're not completely there is a bit of a zing to it.
Yeah, so it's either like, oh, I thought it's just like, fun for kids, like some kind of like, throwing paint around, but it actually hurts. Or they might be the opposite. They might be like, oh shit, it's like people shooting each other. Why is this? It's violent. It's dangerous. You know what I mean? No, it's just like an activity. If you want it, do it. If you don't want it, don't do it. Or anything like bowling, like if you haven't been, if you don't understand the concept. So I think that's what it is. I think that's why in like countries where, stand-up is new and English is not the native language and so on, you get people who just don't understand it because they haven't been. I don't think it's, because if we talk about the political climate, like if you're too right-wing, too woke, you can get offended. If you're too left-wing and too conservative, you can get offended. On one, like if someone talks about God or family or something, you can get offended if you're too conservative. If someone talks about like, I don't know, trans people or whatever, gender fluidity or whatever, you can get offended if you're too woke. So you know what I mean? It's not about that. Like people have always found ways to be offended.
Shouldn't that be the other way around? Like left is woke, right is conservative.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
If you talk about transgender stuff, then the conservative would be offended. And if you talk about Christian gods and things, then the
But not talk about, but I meant kind of like joke about, kind of make fun of. Like
yeah.
if you make fun of,
yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
that's, but I don't think it's that. I think it's just like, you know, and that's kind of makes sense. If you go to, you know, rural Alabama, where kind of jokes about church probably won't go down as great as they would in LA, for example, or in
Or
Berlin.
having sex with your cousin.
Yeah, but no, that I think that
Fun
would go,
topics. Great
that
stuff.
would go.
Or bestiality and necrophilia in a parking lot as well.
Oh, your favorites, yeah,
Oh yeah, they're my go-to. Are you kidding me?
yeah.
Especially if they got 3-star reviews.
So yeah, one final question to you then. Have you ever received a negative review or maybe just feedback? You know, someone came to you after the show and said, "I'm sorry, man, but this was horrible," or "Your set was super bad," or "I feel like offended, I feel insulted," or "You're incompetent as a performer," or anything like that. Have you received, like in person or online, like a bad review?
No, I'm just awesome.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's
No. What I have received, and I haven't received like a technical. I've never had anyone like, because it's all face to face. I've never actually read a review. If I have a written review, I have no clue about it. I've not seen it. But but the one I have gotten, the one where you could tell, what I call like the subtle negative review, is when someone after the show comes like, goes, "Oh, you know." They kind of talk about, "Oh, that performer, like one of the other performers, like really funny. That was my favorite." And they kind of look at you with that look of like, they want to say something nice about your set, but they can't. So they're kind of like, "Nice hosting." And you're just like, like, it's like, hey. And you know, and I remember I had someone, this girl, she was basically raving about one of the other comedians who had done a really great set that day. And it was like really cool. I was like, yeah, nice. And then when they got to kind of me or whatever, they were like, "Oh, thanks for hosting and, you know, for setting it up." And I was like, yeah, well, and I kind of mentioned like, well, my whole point is that everyone with different styles can come and perform here. It's an open mic, so anything goes. And, you know, we hope that at least one performer can cater to someone's tastes. You know, I actually like having a vast spectrum rather than having all the comedians doing the same style of jokes or having the same sort of sense of humor. I actually like variety, and for that regard, you know, for that reason. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And then they jumped on, but I could feel like there was a little bit of like yeah, you weren't my favorite. And it's like, that's totally fine. Like I don't have to be.
But
I'm glad that one of our comedians really tickled you in the right way.
I think that is totally fine. And that's why, you know, we have things like open mics with 10 comics or feature showcases with like 4 or 5 comics.
10 comics. I wish.
Well,
I've got 3. I've got 4 max. I think I've got like 5 if everyone shows up before.
well, not you particularly, but like open mics around the world can feature even up to 20 comics, and you know, so it's like you at least find someone you like, or like feature shows usually feature 4 or 5 acts in the night. So, you know, that's the kind of point of it, you know, diversify. You can't like they like 1 or 2 out of 5, and that's again like good investment of time and money, because you at least enjoy, like you laugh for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. So, and I think that's fine. It's fine not to be someone's favorite in the show, or that they even maybe don't like your humor or something. That's absolutely fine. I mean, it's why we're talking about this and why I picked this review, because as we said in the beginning, it's the first kind of negative written, let's say, negative review I've received as well. I've had these comments after the show, like even from comics or even from like friends that would come like, "Man, you were not like on your best game today," or, you know, like, "Oh, really, like that bit really kind of bombed, you didn't kind of do it well," or something. That's absolutely fine. That's comedy, you know, that's like you try, you fail, you try again, whatever. It's just, this is the first time that it was kind of publicly posted. And then the thing that's really kind of I dislike about it is that it's just a comment on stand-up. It's not even about like, but they went very personal. They went like offending me and the fellow comedian, just insulting us, calling us names. Well, it's just a comment of how comedy works. But yeah, I thought it would be kind of...
That's what I love. I love the person basically saying they're berating you for hosting, and like, this person picked on nationality. They asked about nationalities, and they asked about jobs, and they asked personal questions, and they're like, and that's wrong, and you shouldn't do that, and that's racist and horrible and blah, blah, blah. And yet at the same time, then they go on about Croatian and stuff, and they call you names, and it's like, but, you know, they're putting you down. It's like, you do realize that's a negative thing there, dude, buddy. You're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's why...
Although they're probably arguing arguing that, oh, well, he's performing, so he shouldn't be doing that as a performer. But as a reviewer, I can do that. I mean, I get that argument, absolutely. But at the same time, it's sort of like, it's kind of a bit of a weird situation.
I mean, I think it's actually you and me, we don't have those experiences of like negative reviews because we don't really put out stuff like online, whatever. Trust me, like I know comedians that put like TikToks or whatever of their jokes or crowd work or anything, or people who have put up like a whole special up to YouTube or any platform that has comments. And no matter how good it is, like, or even if you open someone who's actually famous, good and famous, like Mark Norman, his like self-produced special has, 5 million views on YouTube. And definitely you'll find a person that would say, I watched the whole show, it's utter shit. Why? Then turn it off after 10 minutes and watch something you like. You know what I mean? Like, but you'll always get those people. And I think because we don't expose ourselves that much kind of to these public platforms, we don't feel it, but the hate is real. Like people get like bullied and insulted and called names and even threatened. Like I know comedians that have put out bits that just mention some like nationality or some subculture or whatever group of people or something, and they get threats. They're like, bitch, if I ever find you, I'll kill you. Don't speak about, I don't know, whatever,
blah, blah,
metalheads like that. It wasn't metalheads, they're usually chill people, but you know what I mean, like it's kind of so that's the
it's the polka people you got to worry about.
The polka people are the
absolute pricks.
And the square dance people
pricks.
And
kind of murderous, a little bit murderous. I would say actually the Morris dancers, they're the murderous ones. You got to really never ever just don't do comedy about Morris dancing.
They're gonna dance on your grave. But
yeah, they straight up cut you. They will cut you and yes, dance on your grave. Absolutely. They are vicious.
So yeah, and I think that's, when you're doing something publicly and if you want big exposure, if you want to post it, that's what you get. And I think it's surprising that in 10 years, again, running like 4 different productions, doing comedy in I don't know how many, like 50 cities around the world, like every week to different group of 20, 30, 50, 100 people on the festivals every day, that is the first time that someone said something bad and incorrect. But yeah, that's what happened, and that's why I just brought it up so we can dissect this. But
fair enough.
Let us know what you think about bad reviews in the comments. Review this podcast as well if you don't like it.
Yes, leave a review.
If you don't like,
or if you like it.
No,
or both.
No. If you don't like it, then just turn it off and don't listen to it. But if you like it, rate it 5 stars so more people can find it and enjoy what we're doing. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Igor Monday.
And I've been David Munoz.
We'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye.
Ciao.